Most men separate sexual health from everything else like it's some private, isolated part of life that only matters behind closed doors. But in reality, it's one of the clearest reflections of how well your body is functioning as a whole. When your sexual energy fades, it's rarely just about libido. It's your body whispering that something deeper needs attention. Blood flow, hormone balance, cardiovascular health, brain chemistry. All these systems must work together for desire, performance, and satisfaction to thrive. When one falters, the rest soon follow. Think about it. The same arteries that deliver oxygen to your heart and brain also supply blood to your reproductive organs. If those vessels are narrowing due to poor diet, smoking, or lack of movement, your body doesn't just lose stamina, it loses vitality. Low libido can be an early warning sign of heart disease, insulin resistance, or even chronic inflammation long before symptoms appear elsewhere. In that way, your sex life is like a diagnostic mirror reflecting the health of your entire system. Men often see sexual decline as inevitable with age, but research says otherwise. Studies from places like Harvard and the Mayo Clinic show that sexual function depends far more on lifestyle than on age alone. Exercise, balanced nutrition, good sleep, and emotional health can preserve and even restore sexual vitality well into your 70s or 80s. The men who age best don't chase youth, they protect their energy. They treat their bodies like ecosystems, understanding that every choice, from what they eat to how they think, affects every outcome. And let's be honest, sexual health isn't just about the physical act. It's about identity, confidence, and emotional fulfillment. When a man feels disconnected from that part of himself, it ripples outward. His mood changes, his motivation drops. He starts to withdraw from his partner, from ambition, from life. But when that area of health is thriving, something powerful happens. His energy returns, his outlook brightens, he feels younger, not because of age, but because he's reconnected to his vitality. So, when I say sexual health is an essential part of longevity, I don't just mean living longer. I mean living fully. It's about keeping the fire of life burning strong, not through quick fixes or pills, but by nurturing the systems that sustain desire, the heart, the mind, and the spirit. Because when a man takes care of his sexual health, he's not being vain, he's being wise. He's protecting the foundation of his vitality, one heartbeat, one thought, and one choice at a time. Most men think testosterone is something that just fades with time, like hair color or flexibility. They hear the phrase low T and assume it's inevitable that after 40, they're simply on the decline. But that belief is one of the most damaging myths in men's health. The truth is, age doesn't cause low testosterone, lifestyle does. The choices you make every single day tell your body whether to produce or suppress that vital hormone. Testosterone is your body's signal of strength. Vitality, it influences everything: muscle mass, focus, confidence, even your ability to experience desire. But it's also highly sensitive to how you live. When you stop moving, eat poorly, sleep too little, or live under constant stress, your body gets the message that it's no longer time to thrive. It's time to conserve energy. And one of the first systems it dials down is reproduction and sexual function. I've seen men in their 50s and 60s double their natural testosterone levels, not through injections, but through disciplined lifestyle change, regular strength training, reducing processed sugars, prioritizing 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep, and learning to manage stress can do more for your hormones than most prescriptions ever could. Your body wants balance. It's waiting for you to give it the right signals. Think about this. When you lift weights or sprint, you're not just working your muscles, you're telling your body, I'm still in the game. When you eat real, nutrient-dense food, eggs, fish, olive oil, leafy greens, you're sending your hormones the message, fuel for strength, not survival. But when you stay sedentary, overeat junk food, and scroll through your phone past midnight, your body hears, we're shutting down for protection. Testosterone isn't just about sex, it's about how alive you feel. Low levels don't only lead to low desire, they also drain motivation, blur mental clarity, dampen your emotional resilience. That's why when a man restores healthy testosterone naturally, it's not just his body that changes, it's his mindset. He becomes more assertive, more focused. Here's what most men never realize: your hormones are listening to your behavior every minute of every day. They respond to motion, nutrition, rest, and stress. So when someone says, my testosterone's gone down because I'm older, the better question is, what have I been telling my body lately? You don't have to chase youth. You can build vitality, because testosterone is not a number on a lab test. It's a reflection of how deeply you respect your body's design. Treat it like a machine that needs fuel, rest, and challenge, and it will reward you. ignore it, and it quietly shuts down. The men who age well, who stay strong, sharp, and passionate, they're not lucky. They're intentional. They don't just add years to their life, they add life to their years. And that's the real power of testosterone, not just to perform, but to live with purpose, energy, and fire. Most men are taught early on that sex is physical, something you do, not something you feel. They learn to measure success by performance, not presence. But the truth is, emotional connection is the fuel behind every meaningful experience in intimacy. Without it, even the most passionate moments feel hollow. With it, age, looks, and even stamina fade into the background. When you connect emotionally, your brain releases oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins, chemicals that heighten pleasure, reduce anxiety, and deepen trust. These aren't just feel-good hormones, they directly influence performance. When a man feels emotionally safe, supported, and understood, his body responds. Blood flow improves, nerves relax, and desire becomes natural instead of forced. But when there's distance, emotional walls, unspoken resentment, or performance pressure, the body reacts as if under threat. Stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline flood the system, tightening muscles and constricting blood vessels. The brain shifts into survival mode, and suddenly, what should be effortless becomes stressful. It's not that the body is broken, it's that the mind is disconnected. I've spoken to countless men who tell me, "Doc, I just can't perform the way I used to." And after running every test, it turns out the issue isn't physical, it's emotional. They've been carrying tension from arguments, work pressure, or self-doubt, all of which slowly drain their energy and desire. It's proof that you can't separate intimacy from emotion. They are part of the same system. Emotional connection also builds confidence. When a man feels genuinely seen and appreciated by his partner, he's not worried about performance, he's immersed in the moment. That shift from trying to impress to wanting to connect changes everything. It transforms sex from an act into an experience. You stop performing and start feeling, and ironically, that's when performance improves naturally. Science supports this. Studies from leading universities show that men in emotionally satisfying relationships have higher testosterone, better sleep, and lower blood pressure. Their nervous systems operate in a calmer, balanced state, exactly what's needed for physical readiness and endurance. Books like The Road Less Traveled and Attached remind us that love and connection are not side effects of health. They're pillars of it. They anchor us, regulate our emotions, and give our lives depth. The same energy that fuels intimacy also fuels purpose, creativity, and drive. So when I tell men to work on their emotional connection, I'm not talking about becoming soft. I'm talking about becoming strong in the areas that truly matter. The kind of strength that allows you to open up, to listen, to express, to connect. Because when you build that emotional bridge, your body follows. At the end of the day, satisfaction isn't about frequency or technique. It's about presence. It's about showing up as your full self, without armor, without ego, and with genuine care for the person in front of you. When you do that, you unlock a kind of energy that no supplement, no shortcut, and no secret formula can ever replace. That's the secret most men learn too late. Real intimacy begins long before the lights go out. It begins with emotional connection, trust, and the courage to be real. Stress is one of the most powerful killers of male vitality, yet most men wear it like a badge of honor. They say things like, "I'm just busy," or "I'll rest when things calm down," but things rarely calm down, and the body keeps the score. Chronic stress doesn't just affect your mood or productivity. It quietly rewires your hormones, your energy, and even your ability to experience desire. Here's what happens when your brain senses constant pressure: deadlines, bills, arguments, responsibilities. It triggers the release of cortisol, the body's main stress hormone. Cortisol is useful in short bursts. It helps you stay alert, focused, and ready to respond. But when it stays high for too long, it tells your body that survival is the priority, not pleasure. And when your body is in survival mode, it shuts down what it doesn't need in a crisis, like sexual function, hormone balance, and fertility. In fact, studies show that prolonged stress lowers testosterone levels, restricts blood flow, and interferes with brain chemicals linked to arousal. You might notice it as fatigue, irritability, low motivation, or decreased performance, not just in bed, but in life. You feel drained, unfocused, and disconnected. It's not because you're broken, it's because your body is protecting you from a world it thinks is dangerous. The irony is, most men don't even realize how deeply stress has crept into their system. They numb it with caffeine, alcohol, work, or screens. But the problem doesn't go away, it compounds. Your nervous system stays stuck in fight or flight mode, and over time, that constant tension becomes your new normal. You may look calm on the outside, but inside, your body is burning energy just to cope. I once had a patient who told me, "Doc, my body feels fine, but my desire is gone." He was a successful man, fit, disciplined, respected, but he carried silent stress, everyday financial pressure, unspoken marital tension, and the burden of always having to appear strong. His body wasn't failing. His nervous system was exhausted. Once he began to manage his stress through daily walks, deep breathing, journaling, and setting boundaries, everything began to change. His energy returned, his mood lifted, his drive came back, not through medication, but through balance. Men often underestimate the power of simple recovery. Just 10 minutes of focused breathing can lower cortisol significantly. Meditation, nature walks, prayer, simply turning off your phone at night, all of these send your body one simple message: you're safe now. And when the body feels safe, testosterone rises, circulation improves, and vitality returns naturally. The problem isn't that modern life is stressful. It's that most men never stop long enough to reset. We've been conditioned to believe rest is weakness. But in truth, rest is repair. It's how the body restores balance, rebuilds hormones, and recharges energy. The most successful men aren't the ones who never slow down. They're the ones who know when to step back and recover. Your sexual health depends on that balance. You can't perform at your best if your mind is always racing and your body's running on fumes. Passion requires presence, and presence can't exist where stress dominates. So, if you want to reclaim your vitality, start by reclaiming your calm. Because the strongest man isn't the one who can endure the most chaos, it's the one who can create peace within it. If you want to understand the real foundation of male vitality, don't start with supplements or quick fixes. Start with sleep and nutrition. They're the quiet architects of your hormones, your energy, and your drive. Yet most men treat them as optional, like details they can fix later. The truth is, without proper rest and nourishment, your body simply can't produce the chemistry required for desire, strength, or confidence. Sleep is your body's most powerful form of recovery. During deep sleep, your brain resets, your cells repair, and your hormones balance. In fact, studies show that just 1 week of sleeping less than 5 hours a night can drop testosterone levels by as much as 10–15%. That's the hormonal equivalent of aging a decade in days. When you're sleep deprived, your brain produces more cortisol and less luteinizing hormone, the very signal that tells your body to make testosterone. So the less you rest, the less alive you feel. Men often ask, "Why do I feel tired all the time?" The answer is usually simple: their bodies are begging for recovery. Late nights, constant blue light from screens, and caffeine-fueled mornings keep the nervous system stuck in overdrive. The body never fully switches to repair mode, but when you start prioritizing consistent quality sleep, 7 to 8 hours of real, uninterrupted rest, your body thanks you. Your energy rises, your mood improves, your drive returns naturally. And then there's nutrition, the second silent driver of your vitality. Food isn't just fuel, it's information. Every bite tells your body what to do next. Processed foods, refined sugars, and excessive alcohol tell your body to store fat, spike insulin, and suppress testosterone. But nutrient-dense foods like avocados, eggs, salmon, leafy greens, berries, and nuts send the opposite signal. They stabilize blood sugar, reduce inflammation, and help your body produce the hormones that drive desire and stamina. Zinc, magnesium, and healthy fats are particularly crucial. They're the raw materials your body uses to make testosterone and maintain nerve function. Without them, even the strongest body starts to slow down. Think of your body like an engine. You can't expect it to run smoothly if you're filling it with sludge. The quality of what you put in determines the power that comes out. And let's not forget hydration. Even mild dehydration can reduce blood flow and energy levels. The body's circulatory system, the same one that supports sexual function, relies on fluid balance. Water may seem basic, but it's essential for performance at every level. Books like Why We Sleep and Eat to Beat Disease highlight something that medicine is only now fully appreciating. Your daily habits are your most potent form of therapy. You can't outwork, outthink, or out-medicate poor sleep and poor nutrition. So, if you want to reignite your drive, start with the basics. Go to bed at the same time each night. Turn off screens an hour before. Eat real food that looks like it came from nature, not a factory. These aren't small changes, they're biological commands that tell your body, I'm ready to thrive again. Because when you sleep deeply and eat wisely, your body responds in kind. Hormones rebalance, energy surges, and the spark that once felt distant starts to return. That's the beauty of it. Vitality isn't something you have to chase, it's something you rebuild one good night and one good meal at a time. Movement is medicine, but most men only see exercise as punishment, a way to burn calories, lose weight, or build muscle. The truth is far deeper. Movement is how the body remembers it's alive. Every time you move, whether you're walking, lifting, stretching, or simply breathing deeply, you're sending your body a message: keep me young. Here's what science tells us: men who move regularly maintain higher testosterone levels, stronger blood flow, and sharper mental focus even into their 70s and 80s. Exercise doesn't just sculpt your body, it fine-tunes your chemistry. It boosts dopamine and endorphins, reduces cortisol, and improves insulin sensitivity. In simple terms, it balances your hormones so that energy, confidence, and sexual drive stay switched on. But movement isn't just about the gym, it's about rhythm. It's about making your body do what it was designed to do: walk, lift, climb, stretch, breathe, and rest. The human body was never meant to sit for 12 hours a day. When you stop moving, your blood vessels stiffen, your metabolism slows, and your nervous system becomes sluggish. That lack of circulation doesn't just age your muscles, it starves every organ, including those responsible for sexual function. I've seen men transform their energy in weeks just by committing to 30 minutes of daily movement. It doesn't have to be extreme. A brisk walk, bodyweight training, yoga, swimming, or cycling, all of it counts. What matters isn't the style, it's the consistency. Because consistency tells your body, we're still in motion, we're still capable, still strong. Where strength training, in particular, is one of the most powerful tools for maintaining male vitality. Lifting weights activates large muscle groups that release growth hormone and testosterone. It improves bone density, posture, and confidence. And here's something few realize: resistance training also improves endothelial function, meaning your blood vessels stay flexible and efficient. That's not just good for your heart, it's vital for sexual health. Cardiovascular movement, on the other hand, keeps your blood flowing smoothly. It delivers oxygen, clears toxins, and improves stamina, both in daily life and intimacy. Even low-intensity activities like walking after meals can lower blood sugar and improve circulation, creating the internal environment where vitality thrives. But the most overlooked benefit of movement is how it affects the mind. Exercise trains resilience. It teaches you discipline, focus, and patience, the same traits that strengthen emotional connection and self-confidence. A man who moves regularly is not just fitter, he's more grounded, more present, more in tune with his body. That presence spills into every part of his life, his work, his relationships, his sense of purpose. Books like Spark by Dr. John Ratey and Younger Next Year make one thing clear: movement is the closest thing we have to a fountain of youth. Every time your heart beats faster through exercise, you're literally reversing part of the aging process. So if you want to preserve your youth, don't chase it in pills or procedures. Move for it. Walk, lift, stretch, sweat, and breathe. Your body doesn't forget motion, it craves it. Because the secret to staying young isn't about age, it's about momentum. The day you stop moving is the day your body starts believing you're done. Keep moving, and it will keep believing you're still becoming. Every man carries an image of himself. How he looks, how he performs, how he's valued. That image quietly shapes how he shows up in every part of life, especially in intimacy. When that self-image is strong, confidence radiates naturally. But when it's wounded by age, stress, failure, or comparison, it seeps into the way he moves, speaks, and connects. The truth is, confidence in intimacy doesn't start in the bedroom, it starts in the mirror. A man's perception of himself is one of the most powerful forces driving his vitality. If he believes he's weak, undesirable, or past his prime, his body responds accordingly. The mind and body are inseparable in this way. Doubt triggers tension, tension limits performance, and poor performance fuels even more doubt. It becomes a quiet cycle of self-sabotage. But when a man chooses to redefine how he sees himself, not as broken or old, but as evolving, capable, and worthy, everything begins to shift. Self-image isn't about arrogance or ego. It's about self-respect. It's the understanding that your value doesn't depend on youth, physique, perfection. It depends on the energy you bring into the room. Real confidence isn't loud. It's calm, grounded, and deeply present. It's the quiet certainty that you don't need to prove anything. You just need to be. In my experience, the men who struggle most in intimacy aren't the ones with physical issues. They're the ones who've lost faith in themselves. They've let comparison steal their confidence. They look at media, at younger men, at unrealistic portrayals of masculinity, and feel like they're falling behind. But comparison is poison. Your journey is yours alone, and no one else's reflection should define how you feel about your own worth. Books like Man's Search for Meaning remind us that fulfillment isn't about circumstance, it's about perception. When you see yourself through the lens of growth instead of decline, you unlock resilience. You start taking care of yourself not out of insecurity, but out of self-respect. You eat better, move more, Rest deeply, not because you fear aging, but because you honor life. That self-respect radiates outward. Partners feel it. They respond to it. Because attraction isn't about abs or age. It's about energy. Confidence is magnetic. When you believe in yourself, you create safety, curiosity, and desire in your relationship. You become someone who can lead, not with dominance, but with presence. You stop chasing validation and start building connection. You listen more, you touch with intention, you look your partner in the eye not with fear, but with warmth. That's real confidence, the kind that grows from authenticity, not appearance. So if you want to rebuild your vitality, start with the conversation in your own head. Speak to yourself with the same respect you'd give someone you love. Notice the language you use. Are you tearing yourself down or lifting yourself up? Every thought shapes your posture, your tone, your energy, and ultimately your relationships. Confidence is not given, it's trained. You build it through small victories, through showing up, keeping promises to yourself, and facing discomfort instead of running from it. Each time you push through self-doubt, you send your brain a powerful message: I'm capable. And that message doesn't just stay in your mind, it travels through your entire body. A healthy self-image doesn't mean thinking you're perfect. It means knowing you're enough and growing from there, because the most attractive man in any room isn't the one who looks the youngest or the fittest. It's the one who knows who he is and stands in that truth without apology. One of the most overlooked truths about lasting intimacy is this: silence kills connection faster than time ever will. Most men grow up believing that strength means keeping emotions hidden, that real men don't talk about what hurts or what they need. But that conditioning builds walls. Walls that slowly separate partners who were once deeply connected. What starts as pride or self-protection eventually turns into distance, misunderstanding, and emotional fatigue. Open communication isn't weakness, it's medicine. When you speak honestly about your fears, needs, and desires, you give your relationship oxygen. You allow trust to breathe again. I've seen men who spent decades in quiet frustration, worried about performance, disconnected from desire, afraid to talk about it, transform their relationships simply by having one courageous conversation. The moment they dropped the armor, their partners didn't judge them, they reached for them. Because real connection starts with honesty. The reason communication is so powerful is biological as much as emotional. When you express yourself openly, your nervous system calms down. You shift from stress mode to safety mode. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone, rises. That sense of emotional safety is what allows both partners to relax, to open up, and to rediscover closeness. The body follows the mind. Where there's trust, desire naturally returns. Many men think talking about sex or emotions will make things awkward. But the truth is, silence is far more damaging than discomfort. Your partner doesn't expect perfection. They want presence. They want to know that you care enough to communicate, that you're willing to listen as much as you speak. When communication opens up, resentment dissolves, connection deepens, and passion slowly reignites, not as a performance, but as a partnership. Books like Hold Me Tight and the 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work make it clear that emotional openness is not just about solving problems, it's about creating a deeper foundation for love. When two people can share without fear, their bond becomes resilient. They don't crumble under pressure because they understand each other's inner world. The truth is, communication and intimacy isn't about words, it's about courage, it's about being vulnerable enough to say, here's what I feel, or here's what I need, even when it's uncomfortable. That level of honesty takes bravery, but it's the kind of bravery that heals. I've watched couples in their 60s and 70s rediscover a spark they thought was long gone, not through therapy or medication, through conversation. They began to talk again, to listen without interrupting, to express appreciation, to laugh, to touch, to dream. It wasn't new love, it was renewed love, built on truth instead of assumptions. And here's the secret: most men miss: communication isn't just about fixing what's broken, it's about celebrating what's beautiful. Expressing gratitude, admiration, and desire out loud keeps emotional connection alive. When you tell your partner, I appreciate you, you still excite me, or I feel lucky to have you, you're feeding the bond that keeps intimacy alive. So if things feel distant, don't wait for time to fix it. Speak. Be the one to go first. Vulnerability doesn't make you less of a man. It makes you more human, more relatable, more real. Because in the end, connection doesn't fade with age, it fades with silence. And when you learn to replace silence with honesty, you rediscover not just intimacy, but the kind of closeness that makes you feel truly alive again. Most men think of sexual health as something purely physical, measured in performance, stamina, or hormone levels. But true sexual health starts much deeper with self-awareness. It's the ability to understand your own body, your emotions, your needs, and your limits. Without that awareness, even the strongest body or best medical care won't bring lasting fulfillment. Because vitality isn't just about what happens in your body. It's about what's happening in your mind. Self-awareness means paying attention to the signals your body sends every day, the fatigue after poor sleep, the irritability that follows stress, the drop in desire after overworking or neglecting nutrition. These are not random inconveniences, they're messages. Your body is constantly communicating, but too often, men are taught to ignore it. They push through pain, dismiss emotion, and label exhaustion as weakness. Over time, this disconnect dulls the senses, not just physically, but emotionally. When a man reconnects with his own body, everything changes. He starts noticing patterns. He sees how his lifestyle affects his energy, how his mindset affects his mood, and how both influence his intimacy. That's the essence of holistic care, seeing the entire system, not just the symptom. You can't separate mental health from physical health or emotional well-being from sexual performance. They are all part of one ecosystem working in constant conversation. The men who age with strength and grace share one thing in common: they listen. They notice when something feels off and respond with care, not denial. They understand that balance between work and rest, effort and recovery, giving and receiving is what sustains vitality. They don't chase health through pills or shortcuts. They build it through awareness and consistency. Holistic care also means looking beyond the surface. It's not just about fixing what's wrong, it's about nurturing what's right. Meditation, mindful breathing, time in nature, gratitude, strong friendships. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities. They regulate stress hormones, boost immunity, and create the emotional stability that allows desire to flourish naturally. Books like The Body Keeps the Score and Awareness by Anthony DeMello remind us that healing begins when we pay attention. When we slow down enough to actually feel what's happening inside us, we stop treating symptoms and start addressing causes. A man who knows himself, his triggers, his rhythms, his emotions, becomes powerful, not because he controls everything, but because he understands himself deeply. Sexual health at its core is an expression of life energy. It reflects how you treat yourself, how you manage your stress, how you feed your mind and body, and how you connect with others. When that energy is nurtured holistically through movement, rest, nourishment, communication, and mindfulness, it becomes self-sustaining. So if you want to strengthen your vitality, start by turning inward. Ask yourself honest questions. How am I feeling? What do I need? Where am I neglecting myself? Then respond with action, not avoidance. The goal isn't perfection, it's alignment. Because real health, real confidence, and real connection all begin with awareness. When you know yourself, you can care for yourself. When you care for yourself, you can connect deeply with others. And that's where true sexual health and true happiness finally begins.